Hey everyone, my name's Leanne. I'm the face behind Small Gestures Vintage and Crafts, and whether you are new or are returning, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you being here and taking the time to watch. For this week's video, I am flipping some more things from my inventory, giving them some spring and summer touches. When I started, I had not planned on having floral touches on everything, but that's just the way how it turned out, and I'm really happy it did. So if you are ready, let's do it. For my first project this week, I am making over this water jug or water filler I got in Arizona when we were there in December, and when I saw it, I knew that I wanted to put some of the Elysium transfers on it. This is one of my favorite transfer books, and actually this is my second one that I have gone through. And just a little quick tip right here, the IOD, you know, they have a clear transfer stick. If you put a little bit of colored tape at the end, because they're clear and they always seem to disappear, at least on me, if you put a little bit of clear tape at the end, it makes them just a little bit easier to find. So as you can see, this is Painterly Florals, not Elysium. As I started to look through the Elysium transfer, it's a very large design, and I didn't want to, I guess long story short, I was afraid it would be too difficult on that picture. I didn't want to cover up all the patina, so I decided to go with the roses and the lavender in the Painterly Floral. So as I started working my way around applying the transfers, I tried to just adhere it at one end because this slick surface, the transfers were going to stick very, very easily. And so I tried to hold the transfer, have it just kind of rest on my hand and not so it wouldn't get stuck down accidentally, because I need to be sure to go over each of those ridges, and I just for the most part started at the bottom and then just worked my way up bit by bit. After each transfer was down and released from that top carrier sheet, then I just made sure to burnish it really well, and I really kind of ran my fingernail also on the top and the bottom of those little ridges. I wanted to make sure everything was adhered really well and nothing was lifting on either side of that. There was some cracking that happened in some of these transfers because we're not working with a flat surface, we are working with a curved surface, but it didn't really bother me. I thought it just really kind of lended itself to the age and the patina and the look of this project. You can kind of see right here the top part of that rose adhered a little quicker than I was ready for it to. I was going to start at the bottom, and it wouldn't let me lift it up, so I just was able to lift the bottom gently, and you can see that's why I have it resting on my hand. Otherwise, if it had stuck down before I was ready for it to, it would probably have cracked more than what I would have liked. That's one reason, though, I really do love these IOD transfers. They adhere so easily, and they seem to just come off that carrier sheet really effortlessly. It doesn't take a lot of elbow grease and pressing to get those images onto the surface. I'm really working on trying not to be such a perfectionist. Everything has to look exactly the way it's supposed to look, whatever supposed to look means. So I'm working on that, but you can see that I'm layering these transfers, and I'm putting these leaves down first because I want them to be tucked behind the flowers. So when I'm laying them out, I'm really kind of thinking about the end picture. Rather than just, butting the leaves up against the surface of the rose, which you could certainly do, but that's just the, what is it, right brain? I don't know. That's just me. I did make some relief cuts in some of these flowers, and you can see on this one, we're going over a curved surface, and this is a flat object. And so I did make a little cut on the side, and you can see how it just tears away right there. I didn't need to make the cut, and I just pulled it off and then relined it back up. And it looks perfectly fine. You would not have known that the transfer came apart. It just pieced together beautifully. After all the transfers were done, then I just came in with a flat top coat. This is Dixie Belle's flat top coat. I didn't want any kind of a sheen at all on this little picture, and I am 100% in love with how this came out. And this is a struggle. Do I keep it or do I sell it? So this is what I picked up in Arizona, and with a few transfers, this is how it ended up. For my second project this week, I am making over this bench. I picked this up at Habitat for $5, and I loved the shape of it. It is sturdy and really well made, and it looks like they just, over this green paint, they just took a really heavy hand with some black stain. You can see when I tip it over, there's some areas where the stain just kind of dripped and pooled at the bottom. So I scrubbed it really, really well, and none of that stain was coming off. The paint, as you can see, scrapes off pretty easily. So I just went over the whole bottom section, because there's raw wood there, with some Dixie Belle Boss. It would have been much easier to spray it with some shellac, but this was an incredibly rainy day. So I gave it 2 coats of Boss just on the underside, and then the next day I came in with French Eggshell by Fusion. It's this beautiful blue, and got to work on the legs and the cross pieces. It was a good 2.5 coats of the blue, and then Fusion's cashmere is what I used for the bottom of the bench. I did not want to leave the bottom unfinished like that. That's not how I do things. And so I painted the whole bottom and the top, and it actually took 3 coats of Fusion, and Fusion is an all-in-one paint, so it has a base coat or primer and a top coat in it, and it's got great coverage, but because we're going over this dark green and this brown stain, it did take 3 good coats. So here we are the next day. The paint has sat overnight, and I am going to put some roses on it from the Rose Botanical Transfer Book by IOD. I wanted to have some text background behind those roses, and this is an IOD transfer label ephemera. This was back in the day when they came in the tubes, and I actually have 2 of these, but this is all that I have left of my first tube, and so I was bound and determined to use up this text, and I was trying to lay it out, and it wasn't looking the way that I wanted. I want something that just flowed across the whole piece. And then I remembered that I had some transfers from Redesign that I thought might give me the look that I was going for. So this transfer, like I said, it's from Redesign, and it's called Lovely Ledger. And when I lay these out, I'm like, yep, this is what I was looking for. This is like the style. And then I unrolled this big piece, and I'm like, yeah, the others can go away because this is it right here. This is exactly what I want. So I got to work. Redesign transfers are a little more challenging to apply. You really have to press down. So I kind of figured it out, like if I pulled on the carrier sheet to where it was lifting up just a little bit and then went in with my transfer stick, it seemed to release much easier than if the whole transfer sheet was just laying flat. So it took quite a while, and I switched hands several times while working on this piece because it takes a bit more elbow grease. IOD, you don't have to use elbow grease. The Redesign, you kind of do. Regardless of how much effort it took, I am in love with how this looks. So I applied a few more to fill in that empty spot there, and then I took my sanding sponge and scuffed it up, and it didn't dawn on me until I was doing this editing. I wish I had sanded it a lot more than I did, and it would have also been great to actually take a piece of tissue paper and crumple it up and decoupage the tissue paper on top of the black transfer. That really would have muted it a lot, and then put the flowers on top of that. So that will be, that's going to go in the memory bank for next time. So in full transparency, I'm really proud of myself. When I started this, I really just wanted to use the 3 roses on that one sheet, but because I'm very stingy with my transfers, right? But I'm glad I didn't just stick with that. These transfers are beautiful. And I wanted to create a bouquet. I wanted to create something really beautiful. And they're art. And I wanted to play around and create art. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't just stick to a few and let the rest sit in a box for another project. After I was completely finished with my beautiful bouquet of roses, then I did give it a top coat of Dixie Belle Flat clear coat to protect those transfers. And then after that was done, I came in with my favorite DIY dark wax all over this pretty little piece. Even if I do say so myself, I think this was one stunning makeover. What do you think? My third project this week is another little easy flip. I picked up this old drawer that came out of some kind of a little something at an estate sale. I think it was like 75 cents. It was full of little scissors. And look, I just noticed when I was filming that it had a little heart there. But I loved all the little drawings on it. And it's, if you can see it, it says it's made in France. I would have loved to have seen the piece that this little drawer came out of. But I just thought it was really sweet just to hold some little bottles and little bud vases. And so I came at it, this is Fusion in buttermilk cream, and I decided to give it a coat. Why? I thought I wouldn't need any kind of a stain blocking because it's A, raw wood, and 2, red ink on there. Why that didn't occur to me, I don't know. Thankfully, it's a small piece, and so it was only one coat of paint, and then I decided to come in with 2 coats of Boss by Dixie Belle, which blocks stains, and I let it sit overnight, and then proceeded to finish it up the next day. This is the next day, and after the blocking primer, I gave it about 2.5 more coats of paint, and I kept the bottom plain. I wanted to keep that stamp on there that said made in France. I didn't want to cover that up at all. So I just gave it about 2.5 more coats, and then we just have a sweet little transfer that we're going to apply to one side of it. So this little floral swag is in the back of the IOD transfer book Lost Garden, and it was just a little bit bigger than this little box, so I just trimmed it up a little bit so it would sit flush along the bottom and gave it a quick apply. Again, it went down super easy, and it's just I think this is a really simple, quick flip. After the transfer, I pulled out my new favorite, DIY dark wax, and applied it really around the corners. I went all sides over the transfer and inside the box too, and focused on the edges and then just kind of buffed it in towards the middle. And it really just gave a nice patina to it, I think. And as a reminder, this is how this sweet little box started out and the end result. For my fourth and final project this week, I had these little bud vases that I picked up at Goodwill a while ago, and I had painted them white. I think I was actually going to do some alcohol ink on them. They were multicolor, and you can still see some of the colors through, but I wanted to do kind of a pottery look. And if you have seen Connie, the painted photographer, she did some projects like this and they were beautiful. So this is the first time using DIY tarnished pearl, which is one of her favorite colors, and I was a little freaked out when I first saw it because it has such a gray tone or cast to it, but when you dry it, it just dries in this beautiful soft matte white. I really, really, really like it. So for these vases, I was trying to kind of dupe the painted photographer, I guess, and I did not have any brown to add, so I'm mixing DIY's weathered wood, which is a dark gray kind of, and Firestarter, this orange. I'm trying to make a brown because I want to sponge some of this brown at the top and the bottom of the vase to give it like more of a pottery look, like if it were worn away or stained through time. So that was my idea that I had in my head. So this is an instance where I will say, do as I say, not as I do. I have just a little sea sponge that's wet, and I'm just dabbing that brown paint here at the top, and I'm going to spritz it with some water and just have that darker, the brown run down. But do you see how it looks very stripy when I'm spritzing it? I kind of had to play with it and finagle it a bit to get it smoothed out, but do you see how it looks all stripy? That is because I forgot a step that Connie did in her video. Had I spritzed the piece with water before I applied the paint, then that brown paint would have run down so much easier. You can see here in this one when I do the top, it just really flows and you don't have that yucky, stripy look to it. You can see this gives it, from the get-go, much more of an aged look. And then I just spritzed it a little bit more just to get that water and that color flowing down towards the bottom. So after they were good and dry, I came in with Big Top because I am going to apply some transfers on top. And I think I forgot to mention, I put 3 coats of tarnished pearl on each of these vases because DIY paint can be reactivated with water, and I was going to be spritzing them. I didn't want to reactivate the tarnished pearl color, so I gave them 3 good coats so I would lessen the chance of that happening. So the Big Top is dry now, and I'm just cutting out some beautiful little roses. This again is from the Rose Botanical book, and I just wanted to get some really sweet, smaller images to apply onto each of these little bud vases. I did make quite a few relief cuts on these transfers just to help me as I'm applying them, because especially 2 of them, you know, they're very curvy and you're going around the curved surfaces, so you cut that plastic just to help ease the tension on that plastic carrier sheet so it's a little easier to apply. I just kind of went bit by bit and used my thumbnail and used this transfer stick and went down a little piece at a time. And I did have a little bit of cracking, but again, I didn't let it bother me because I want these to have more of an aged look and more of a worn look anyway. So after a light sanding of these transfers, then I came back in with another coat of Big Top to finish it off. So that's it for this week's video. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I do so appreciate that you are here with me each week. And please, if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload a new video, and share this video if you know of anyone that might like my content. So here we go, the beginning and the end. I hope you enjoyed this week's projects, and until next time, take care.